All right. Says the instigator, Mr. Firestarter over there. Did you hear about that, Adam?
Did you get an email?
Dude, I got a freaking thing from Boker and I'm like, Jesus, it's still going!
And who started the whole thing? Mr. In the Weeds over there.
Why? We
Mr.
let it go because he was a little touchy.
Mr. Incognito.
It's just-
we all got.
He sent it out to everybody.
Yeah,
I didn't. It just.
I don't remember I started it.
Yeah, well, no, he started the whole thing. Because he's the one who came in and said,
Yeah, but
you
I
realize
did
that the
mine-
janitors don't have to.
But I started the whole Boker thing in fun.
Yes, you did. But he's the one who started the whole thing up with the whole recycling.
But Boker took it to the next level of what just happened.
I think he took it to like several levels.
I saw the email today, I'm like, what happened?
I should just send him an email, reply to that, and just say, we need to talk, and then nothing else. Just, his head will just.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I would totally do it too.
Oh, yeah, that's all recorded. All right, so anyway, we're gonna do a new project, new iOSClass project.
It's called Boker Sex. You don't really want me to do it, seriously.
No, I'm actually going to lunch because I'm tired.
Oh.
I've been working in here all day. Working on 2 assignments. That's awesome.
Well, you're kind of preaching to the choir. Is that you? How long have you been here since 7 a.m., Glenn?
Not today.
Oh, not
I
today.
didn't come in right away.
Oh,
Too
I
many.
came in and I went home.
Yeah.
Are we
Nobody
doing
else
a,
is here. Did you come in this morning?
are we doing a
we're single screen. Yes.
that answers my question.
All right, so call this page control freak.
Page control freak?
Yeah. So last week we talked. We did an assignment. We didn't do an assignment. Last week we did a project that was based off of the UI page view controller. So this is called the page control freak.
You're a single view application?
Yeah. Do not select use core data.
Control what?
Page control freak. I was going to call it page control, and then I thought of control freak. So I had someone came to mind just then. So then I just call it page control freak
Okay.
and create.
You said do not use core data?
Do not use core data. No, we're not using core data.
So we're done with core data.
Well, yeah. I mean, we can do more if you want, but
And make sure you click get repository.
if you guys want to build a, if you guys want to build a,
Listening to
And make
this.
sure you put all the plastic bottles in the other garbage things.
all right. So last week we did the UI page view controller. So the UI page view controller works on the premise that kind of like a table view controller where it occupies all of the screen real estate and basically it is the screen. So you swap out views with a page view controller with a page control, which is what we're going to do tonight. We're going to use a UI page control. A page control is a little different. You've seen them probably in a number of apps where you got like the little dots. Well, actually, Simulator is an example of it. The home screen of the device. You have the dots on the bottom, and as you swipe, it changes the screen. And so that actually is a page controller, or a page control, I should say. That's embedded in a view controller. So the entire device, the entire screen, basically is a giant view controller. All right, so, but that's the concept. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to use a UI page control as opposed to a UI page view controller. All right, so in our storyboard, we have our standard view controller. And in here, we're going to, first thing we're going to do, well, I'll back up a little bit. So a page control is not quite as straightforward as you'd think. Big surprise, given that it's Apple. But the way I would have expected it to work is you got like a control at the bottom that acts kind of like a toolbar that has the dots on it or whatever that signify the pages. And then that would just swap out views. You could just change views, but it's not that simple. So the way it actually works is the UI page control works in conjunction with a scroll view. You use the UI scroll view, and the scroll view basically just keeps scrolling, and then the page control tells it how far to scroll. It's kind of goofy, but that's how it works. So, first thing we need to do is get a scroll view. We need to plop a scroll view on here. I don't remember where they are, so.
But it doesn't search.
Yeah, it does. If you go down here, that's what I did. Is you go down to the bottom, you just type scroll, it pops up. So scroll view, which is a UI scroll view, is what we want. You can drag that out, plop it on your storyboard.
Why isn't it in the options?
What's that?
I don't think it was there originally.
The search?
No, the scroll view.
Maybe they hide that. Who knows? Who knows what goes through their minds? So, anyway.
Snarky.
I was searching diligently and I could not find it.
There's no words for that.
For searching diligently.
Yeah, but they put it on there now because search for it.
Yeah, so you just plop it on there. Don't worry about centering or anything at this point. And let's go ahead and create a variable for that right away. Create an outlet. See what kind of stuff assistant editor. Hey, it actually came up with the right file. So in our view controller, we're going to control drag over there from our scroll view.
And what are we gonna name this particular scroll view?
We're going to come up with something really creative like scroll view. There it is.
UI scroll view, it is an outlet.
It is an outlet, yep. It's weak and puny. All right,
It's a bar.
there's a var, because it's a member variable. All right, that guy, and then in our UI view controller, we are going to make it implement the UI scroll view delegate, of course, like everything else. It's a delegate. Like that, and also, we'll leave it like that for now. All right,
Scroll view, I like it.
yeah. Okay, so there's that. Then, in conjunction with that guy, we're going to need a page control.
Embedded.
Yeah, it will be. There it is, page control. Not the page view controller, but just the page control. Okay, so page control indicates the number of open pages in an application by displaying a dot for each open page. The dot then corresponds to the currently viewed page is highlighted, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's our guy. Drag that and plop it down like in the middle of your storyboard file and then like near the bottom below the scroll view. And this guy too will create an outlet for him.
Do we get to fund in this one too?
Yep, I'm going to give it something wild and insane like page control. Oh yeah, we're going out there. All right, so everyone got that?
See.
All right, so last week I kind of blew your minds with the whole using a storyboard. I know it just blew you away. We used the storyboard identifier to identify our various zibs or our views. So we're going to do a similar concept this week, only we aren't going to use the storyboard ID, but we are going to use a similar concept with the controls that are on the view. So let's see. First off, let's create. So this is going to be the thing that gets swapped in and out here. This view. So let's create. Add a new file.
Oh,
Yeah, yep, it's Cocoa Puffs. This guy is going to be derived. Actually, we don't even need a view. Let's do previous. Let's back up here. I'm not even going to use a class. I'm going to use this. So select under the user interface, select view. So we're gonna do something really risque and out there. We're not gonna create a subclass class to handle this. We're just gonna create a zib and call it our own. All right, so
With a zippy.
we'll call this, yeah, it's a zib. Color view dot zib.
and that's with a Z, not a, or X.
That's with an X, yeah, not a Z.
Color view zip.
Yep.
Dot Z. Dot, 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 dot.
You guys get this wonderful stuff popping up here when you do that?
Yep.
Could not be opened. What?
What kind of crazy nonsense is that?
That's an atom.
The reason why this pops up is probably because we had the assistant editor up before, and so it's like, hey, this should be really useful for you. I'm just going to show you this. So there it is. This is NS object, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So if you're ever interested in what the base class for all of the basic framework classes is, this is the guy that apparently Xcode thought would be really fascinating for us to look at. So this is all Objective-C stuff. So what we have now in Swift are any objects. Those were previously called IDs, just
I
a
did not do that.
generic object.
Do you need help?
Mine is red.
What's red?
The color views dot zip.
Did you create a class or did you create a view?
I created a view. I'm starting over.
Yeah, just delete it. And I'm thinking it was a class that you gave a .zip name and it freaked out.
Call that zip. Great.
Easy.
Okay, that's
What's wrong?
no, it's fine. I just had to delete it and
You
restart
didn't
again.
put dot zip.
I did.
You named it DOT.
I capitalized zip and it did not like the capitalization the first time.
Oh,
The first time.
Stupid thing.
Very
you should know better, really.
Are you typing over there with your cap locks on again?
He's been posting on Twitter, and now he's switched over to class, so he's still got the caps lock on. Just kidding, dude. Just kidding. Just-
Why, do you
Everybody's
yell on
haters.
Twitter?
Just kidding.
Is that what you do, is yell on Twitter?
I'm kidding.
I've never been on Twitter.
I'm not a big Twitter guy. I have a Twitter account, but I don't really use it a whole lot.
Are you Twitter painted?
Oh, that was an interesting question.
Wow.
All right, so getting back to class,
Twitter.
everyone has a zib now, right? Just a blank zib. All right, so let's put a label on it. We're just going to go all HTML-ish here tonight. We're going to actually create an app kind of as if it was an HTML app. So no variables associated with either the view or this label. Just going to plop this guy on here. What we are going to do though is with this label guy, well, let's center it first of all so it looks halfway decent. Do a control drag and center horizontally. And you can center it vertically too. All right. Now, with the label over here in the properties inspector, the attribute inspector they call it, we need to go down to where it says view, and then underneath that is the tag. There's a tag qualifier. Bump that up to 1. Set the tag to be 1.
Okay.
So basically what that does is it acts kind of like, sort of like an HTML ID field. So we can call it by ID when we never have to give it an outlet. You don't have to create a variable for it, any of that stuff. It's just nice and generic. All right, so then with that done, we can go back in our view controller. And in this guy, we need to create some variables of our own. All right, so we'll start off with a constant num pages. Set that equal to 5 to start off with. That apparently was pretty exciting stuff. All right, so next is going to be the colors. Dude, you're whistling. It's like, what? It's so random. It's like, what the hell?
I thought 5 was random. That's why I was like,
Well, we could make it more, but then we just got to come up with more colors. So here we go with the colors. This will be similar to what we did before, only in a completely different implementation. It's the UI color array, and you can create these with whatever color you want. Doesn't have to be what I am. Go UI color dot yellow. Oops, yellow. Oh. UI color for the Packer fans dot green Packer fan. UI color dot so we got yellow and green together. Dot orange. I think that's 5 now, isn't it? 1, 2,
No, you
4.
gotta use purple.
Yeah. Dot purple. All right, so that's going to be our colors. As you might suspect, we're going to swap out colors, and then a little later on, we'll actually add a picker control that allows us to set the page programmatically. But first thing we got to do is we have to configure our scroll. We have to configure our pages. Is what we have to do. So
Are you using a comma between these?
yeah.
see,
For whatever reason, it doesn't look like
You have it defined as an array of UI colors.
No, no.
that. Oh, I missed it one of those. in my colors.
That would be why it doesn't like it. Okay, so after the view did load, let's create a function called configure scroll view. And this will be what we're going to use on the view did load to set up our scroll view.
this gets crazy.
So a scroll view is actually a pretty powerful view. You can use it for zooming in on images and panning and stuff like that, and it's got a lot of that functionality built into it. It's also good for this kind of thing where you want to do paging without creating a bunch of different view controllers or views. So there's a few properties on this guy. That's our scroll view variable that we created. Scroll view.is paging enabled. We want that to be true. Scroll view that shows horizontal, or either one, horizontal indicator. We want that to be false, so you don't have some sort of ugly scroll bar. And then the same thing with the shows vertical indicator.
Does this require with the scroll view delegate? It seems like it doesn't need it like some of the other ones used to. When we put that in there, we had to do certain functions to make it happy.
Well, you have to tie the two together. So just because we called this guy a scroll view delegate doesn't mean that it actually is. So we have to actually tell the scroll view who its delegate is. So we can either do that programmatically or we can do it in the storyboard.
Well, I was just curious because sometimes we do that and it doesn't like that if we don't do
Yeah,
certain functions
No.
below it. It seems like this one doesn't have that same issue.
yeah, I know what you're. Well, no, it's pretty happy with the scroll view. Scroll view is a very standard common control. But anyway, we can go ahead and set this guy up. So in the scroll view, you really only have a delegate, you don't have a data source. So we can drag from the delegate over to our view controller, and then that'll link the two together. So now we
So
are,
view controller, you said? I'm sorry.
yeah, to the view controller. So now our view controller is officially the scroll view's delegate.
Sorry.
That's all right. Otherwise, you could do it in here too. In the view did load, you can say scroll view delegate equals self. I'm going to brazenly put that in there and leave it there just to see if it blows up the world, because I've got duplicated stuff telling it who the delegate is. Now Apple will be like, "Oh, you can't do that."
How dare you name it twice?
I don't think it'll matter, but I could be wrong. All right. Shows work. Okay, so now we got to type a bunch of stuff. What we need to do is create a rectangle. So this is surprisingly manual, but we have to create a rectangle that essentially represents the total size, scrollable size. All right, so what we're going to do to allow that to happen is we're going to take the width of the main window, which is like the width of one scrollable screen, and then we're going to multiply that guy by the number of items in our color view, basically. All right, so, or I mean in our colors array, I should say. All right, so what we can do, let's say scroll view dot, and this is called content size. The content size, not to be mistaken with the frame, is the total amount of area that you can scroll. So that's going to be a CG size object. And, whoops, no, don't do weird stuff, just, yeah, we'll go with the double here. Float, actually, CG float. All right. Doesn't matter, because the parameters are the same. Okay, so width will be scroll view dot frame dot size dot width what am I typing? Okay, times this will have to be a CG float. So it's going to be CG float. We're going to construct a CG float and pass into the constructor the total pages. I must have called it something different. Did I call it num pages?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so that is our width. So that should allow us to scroll through the number of screens that represent the number of colors that we have. Height is just going to be scroll view dot. This might have to be a CG float as well. Maybe not. Scroll. I think this is a CG float by default. Scroll view dot frame dot size dot height. So notice I'm using scroll view instead of just view. The view, if we go back to the storyboard, the view is like the overall area, but we don't want the, if we set the height to be that, then we'd actually have scrolling in the vertical as well, which I don't really want. I want it to be contained vertically inside this frame, which is the scroll view frame, and then horizontally it'll extend past that. So that's why we're using the scroll view's height and width. All right. Let's see.
Did
We're
not
gonna.
like that.
Hmm?
Mine did like that.
What didn't it like?
Hold on, I got it. Just give me a second. Take a while.
Do you?
The youngins are all over it.
I'm just trying to, make class go smooth.
For some reason, capitalized it.
Get blocks on.
No, it's not. Look at it came in float max. It highlighted that one.
Okay,
There. Jeez.
I'll take your word.
I think we should do guys and girls today.
Really?
You've been trying to,
You feeling confident? Because I mean, it seems like
That's a lot of
Kristen.
smack talk.
he's trying to like team up against me too.
How about oldest and youngest?
That's the two gladiators.
Oldest and youngest. So Isaiah versus Glenn. I mean, what?
Oldest and youngest together, then I'd be on Kristen's team.
Oh, I see.
I wouldn't do that to Isaiah.
oh. You're being pretty cocky considering you're the guy who seems to be having the
Bad
problems here.
typing skills. Told you, power went out. My power just came back on.
Still in reboot mode. All right. So,
Memory blew up.
What does Control Alt Delete do?
did you ever see the IT Crowd?
The IT crowd?
I think it's called Crowd, isn't it?
Is it a TV series?
It's actually a British TV series. It's super funny.
I've heard Casey, I think, talk about it.
Yeah,
I'm not
Casey's
sure if that's
talked
what it's called about. Is that what it's called? Something like that.
It's really funny.
I never watched it, but
I think it's the IT Crowd.
Can you show that?
Yeah, it's IT Crowd.
Is it on Netflix?
It is. It is on Netflix. Yeah, it's it's these guys, these Goonie guys that are basically IT support guys.
Is that really 3 girls and 1 guy, that one pattern picture there?
No, it's actually 3 guys, I think, and 1 girl. 2 main guys, and then there's another guy that's
Like it's sad. It's like it hurts to say that. Like, wait, what?
yeah, the IT Crowd. So yeah, you get a chance, you have to check it out sometime. It's super funny because these guys are like typical, like IT support help desk kind of people. The guy on the right will answer the phone like whenever anyone calls in for help. The first thing he says, he's Scottish, you know, he's got like a Scottish accent. He'll say like, "Hello, IT. Did you try turning it off and turning it back on again?" And that's the first thing he says. And then after a while, he actually creates a recording of it. So that's what he doesn't even answer the phone. He just has the voicemail pick up and say that. All right. So anyway, configuring the scroll view. So now what we need to do is go through each one of the 5 pages and create the framing rectangle for it so that it knows when it's switching to a new page. So we're going to create a for loop, I in 0, ... to num pages. All right, now here's where the really fun part comes into play. We created that, remember, a color view, which is just this generic kind of user interface builder file, has no class associated with it. But now we're just gonna, out of thin air, we're gonna create something. So we're gonna say let color view equals bundle. So bundle is the resource bundle of the app. Dot main, that's the main bundle. Dot load nib named. And the name of our nib is color view. Owner of it is us, self.
Somebody's completely messing here.
Options is nil.
It's not capitals.
Now here's the tricky part. This actually returns an array for some reason. So what we need to do is access the first element of that array, array 0, as UI view. And I thought I needed a question mark there. Oh yeah, I forgot the as exclamation point.
Put some emphasis on it.
Damn right. Okay, so that actually creates a UI view from the bundle, just from this little zip guy that we created. It's kind of cool. It's a generic UI view, but as you'll see, we can still do stuff with it outside of what you do with a normal UI view. All right, so now we need to create our series, our rectangle, to house this view. So we say let R for rectangle equals CG rect. And this is going to be the one with the floats. That guy. This will be, okay, so we start off with index 0. So we're going to, first view, the X is going to be 0. And the other side of the view is going to be the width of the scroll view. The second screen, second page, is going to be 1 times the width plus the width. So we can basically use our indexer here to tell us where the start point of this screen is going to be. So we can say CG float I, our indexer, because that's an int and it has to be a float, times scroll view. It's kind of similar to the logic we have above, dot frame, dot size, dot width. Then in the Y, the Y will be scroll view dot frame dot origin dot Y. Okay, so that's where we start. Width is just going to be the scroll view dot frame dot size dot width.
Right?
Yep, and the height will be the same thing. I'm just going to copy this and paste it. And replace width with height. There. So that creates the rectangle that we're going to place this view into. So all we have to do is say color view dot frame equals R. And color view dot background color equals colors index I. That sets the background color of it. And then now here comes the other really cool part that's kind of HTML-ish. We say let label equals color view dot view with tag. And the tag we gave it, you may recall, was 1. And we're going to typecast it as a UI label. So even though we never really created a class to hold properties and stuff, we can do this, which allows us to use the label we put on there. So you could do this. Apple hates it with a passion, but you can do it with all kinds of stuff. You can do it with text fields. You could do it with a picker control, whatever you want. You could do this. It's kind of ugly to do it that way because you have to get it. You have to do this kind of thing. You have to set tags on all of them. Then you got to do the view with tag, typecast it, and then set all the properties on it and stuff like that. So it's a little ugly, but you could do it. But just so you know that this is another way of manipulating views where you don't have to create a class to go along with it. This is especially handy where you're creating, like if you wanted to create, like I talked about last week, like a book or some sort of like pamphlet or something, and you want to use these pages in a page view controller or a page control. You don't want to create a whole bunch of separate classes to do that. You probably want to just create one zib and then just swap out content in that zib. So this is how you'd go about doing it. All right, so label dot text is going to be equal to this. We'll say page, and then we'll put the page number backslash I plus 1 because we don't want to start with page 0. And that's it. Oh, we have some stalkers out here. Got these guys that are just standing out in the hallway staring in at us, so I'm not sure what's going on there. All right.
Friend of yours, I think?
Yeah, just go out there and jack them up and then blame it on Adam. have Adam send off an email to Volker. Volker, we really would appreciate it if you didn't have
Why do
students.
people keep waiting in the halls, Booker? I don't understand. Jeez.
That would be so awesome. I think we should do it. All right, so
Graduate sometime, Sean.
pretty bad when your teacher is instigating this kind of behavior.
And it's on recording.
Yeah, sure is. I can always edit this though. All right, so nah, I'll be too lazy. Scroll view dot add subview, so that this will add our view, color view. So inside the scroll view is going to be a series of these guys. And actually I think that's all we got to do. That should cover our needs for the scroll view. And the next thing we got to do is set up our page control. So what we want to do is take this code that we just created, go up in our view, you did load, and we're going to call it configure scroll view. So we'll do that first, and then the next thing we're going to create is a configure page control. Configure page control. This one's a little easier. Yeah, I heard that, Adam. This one's a little easier. So this one, we just need to set the total number of pages, indicator color, and current page. So you can say page control dot number of pages is equal to num pages. Page control dot page indicator tint color, which is kind of a weird property, but this is what you have to do to set the color of the dot. The UI color, and you can make it whatever color you want as long as it stands out, I guess. This will be against the background of the view, the main view, not the scroll view. Page control dot current page indicator. So this is the dot that is the one that's current page. So UI color, I'm gonna make this one red. And page control dot current page equals 0. That's really all we have to do for that. That should set it up pretty nicely. Now we can go ahead and give this thing a go.
Give it a go.
Did we want to call that second function in the view load?
Yeah, good catch there. All right, point for the young'uns. Thank you.
It works.
Page control. All right. Yeah, the old guys are kind of getting whooped up on tonight.
Memory's off.
Huh?
Wait.
Say what?
I can't hear you.
So is it supposed to, like, as you scroll, it's supposed to highlight a different color in the bottom?
It sure is. So we
It does not.
yeah, it sure doesn't, does it? So we're missing a critical piece, which you would think Apple would handle for you, but it doesn't. So I'll leave it to you guys to discuss how you think you'd implement that, how you'd correct that problem. How do you think you'd do that? How do you think you get these things to highlight correctly? All right, I'll give you a multiple choice. Do you think you would create an IB action that would go from the page control that would handle a function that would tell it which page to set it on? Do you think you would have a like a delegate method that you would implement that would tell it which page to set it to? Huh? What's that, Kristen?
Taking a while to get say
She said the first one because it was the first example you gave.
All right. example 3 is it's a property that you set on the page control.
Maybe that would be.
I'd like to see if it's a property, that'd be kind of nice.
All right, so who votes for option 1?
I want to.
Well, you said you did.
I'll go for option 1.
Change your mind? All right.
I don't know.
Who votes for option 2? That's the delegate method. Who votes for option 3, the property?
Yeah, we'll go with property.
All right, you all lose. It's number 2.
I really thought he was gonna say it's not one of the options. I'm like, you suck.
You really made it sound tricky.
But
like
you
you
losers.
didn't know what
That's
option
the part I
was.
was waiting for.
Did he?
All right, so there's a few ways you can go about implementing this, and I actually did a little research on this to see what people recommended, because it's a little tricky to get it right. But people were recommending there's several scroll view delegate methods. Did scroll, did begin dragging. So these couple of people said you got to use this did scroll, and I used that and it didn't work. So the one that I ended up using is this scroll view did end decelerating. So leave it up to Steve Jobs to come up with some fancy stuff. Anyway, when you swipe this guy, you'll notice that it actually, if you got to go the right way, it actually has the capability to kind of slow down. It actually does a deceleration as it comes to a stop, so it sets itself. So that's what this is. Scroll view did end decelerating. So that's basically when it says it's coming to a stop. All right. So that's the point where we know where we've landed. The problem with using the scroll view did scroll is it's not done scrolling yet. And I was trying to set the page based on the location, how much it had scrolled, and it was coming off, depending on how far it had scrolled and how quickly I was scrolling, it would change. So it's like, all right, that clearly is not the way to go. So I came up with this did end decelerating. And now what we need to do is calculate which page it actually is on,
Could
because
you actually still set up on the page control equals current page? Couldn't we do set that equal to where we are on the array? Actually create a variable,
if
and then where
we-
it says page control dot current page is equal to.
yeah, the only problem is, I mean, we could probably do that, but the problem is we
It only
don't.
loads the view to load, I understand that, so. but-
We don't have like a did select or anything like that, so we don't really know exactly which color, other than like doing some sort of screen scrape. We really don't know. What we do know that is we can use to our advantage is how far offset our content is, and that's what we ended. I ended up using this, was the only one that worked consistently. I also added a gesture recognizer to it, a swipe gesture recognizer, and that just didn't work. So let's give this a try. The thing with this is this returns the amount that it's offset actually returns a float. So we want to round this because our pages are ints. So we want to round this guy. Scroll view dot content offset is the one we want. Well, not content size, content offset. That. Dot x divided by UI screen dot main screen or dot main dot bounds dot width. So that should give us the current page, and it's at page control dot current page equal to int current page. All right, because this rounds it, but it still leaves it as a float, and then we have to cast it to an int. All right, so let's go ahead and run this now.
How do I know if it works?
You'll see the dot change color when you scroll.
I don't see my dots.
There's a dot.
It was all straight.
So if you look, you can see the blue or whatever color you made it change to a different color.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you just swipe them really fast, it doesn't change until it stops.
So I was wondering if you could do something with, because the place in the array could tell you where you are based on the current page, you know what I mean, the indicator? So I mean, you have 0 for 4, couldn't you force it to do that?
You don't know that though. Like when you're scrolling, there's no method that you could capture that says, okay, now that you're on this page, unless we set a variable, unless we created a class, you know, like in the Zib here, if we actually created a class around that and then had a property in the class that was like the index
I see what you're saying.
or the tag or something like that. That's the only way we'd know how, you know, what number we're on actually. The only thing that Apple gives you, the only thing that iOS gives you is how far you've scrolled, which really is goofy. But that's one of the reasons why the UI page view controller is a little bit handier control than the page control. But I mean, that's how it works with in conjunction with the scroll view. Goofy, but once you get it, you know, once you get it figured out, it works pretty well. Yeah, I mean, if you scroll through it, if you really rip through it, it takes a little while to catch up. But that's also because we're running it on an old iMac within a simulator. I think if you run it on the phone, it'd probably look a little better.
Is that because of the div and decelerating though?
Well,
If you don't let it decelerate, then it doesn't switch it.
Right. That would make sense.
if you don't let it what?
If you don't let it decelerate, you just keep going, then it doesn't actually switch it.
Oh, well, yeah, that's... At some point in time, it should still hit this. Like, if you set a breakpoint in here and then you rip through it, it should still hit it. Yeah, it's it's delayed a little bit, but oops. Yeah. All right, so now we have that basic functionality. We have our scroll view. So the next thing I was going to do was figure out a way to programmatically do it, so that you could have like some sort of picker, and then select a color, and then have it automatically scroll to that color. So let's take a 10-minute break though, and then I'm going to stop the recording so it doesn't get too huge, and then we'll come back and do that.
We still got power in my house. That was the groaning and grunting before.
You don't have power?
Not yet.
Really?
Still.
That's surprising.
That was that.
I know, that wind was something.
Where, did you call the UPS?
My wife said